and welcome to my channel, Books, Scares, and Purrs. My name's Leslie, and you may be looking at the title of this video and the details and asking me, Leslie, am I having deja vu? No, this is more like deja vu adjacent. Here's the thing. I'm presenting my readathon for July and August. This is a 2-year readathon where I'm covering various characters from AMC's adaptation of Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, Interview the Vampire. Here's the thing. When I went live, the quality of my internet was just so bad. And I couldn't sleep last night. I just kept thinking about how bad the quality was. And I was trying to let it go and just leave that, but I can't. It's going to keep bothering me. So I'm going to just do this again, record this, and if the quality of this is better, then I'll go ahead and I'll post it and just private the other one. So if you've seen this before, feel free to just skip it. I just wanted like a better quality segment out there than what I put out. Again, just to back it up, I've covered Louis de Pointe, I've covered Madeleine, and now we are going to be discussing 7 books on Claudia De Lioncourt de Pointe-du-Lac's bookshelf. I couldn't figure out whose last name should go first for this to add for Claudia, but here we are. So just to kind of break this down for you, this is the intro, and then we're going to go on to explaining the readathon, TBR prompts, the books that I'm fulfilling the prompts with, and I'm going to have some recommendations, not for all the prompts, but just some other options in case of what I'm reading doesn't gel with you and you're not interested in reading along with me. Or maybe you're looking at your shelves and you're just like not sure where to start. I'll just try to give you some other options. And then after that, we are going to discuss Storygraph because I do have the readathon up and running on there. It's available, it's public for you. And also YouTuber spotlights, because I'm not really sure where to ever place this. I don't really like to do spotlights in my reviews because I'm trying to keep my book reviews like short and sweet. So we'll see how that goes. All right. So for each character, every time I introduce a new character that we're covering and their bookshelf, I try to wear like an outfit inspired by what the characters wore throughout. So more like season 1, Claudia would have like a bow in her hair or some ribbon, and it was typically red. So I have these like fleur-de-lis earrings. My daughter actually spotted these at a store. They're only like $12, so it was a steal. And then this isn't quite the same outfit that I wore last time, but it is blue. It's just kind of like blue and white stripes. In season 1, Claudia it was almost like a baby doll type outfit. Yeah, with bows in her hair that she kind of started out with, now that I think about it. So this is kind of more like that color scheme than what the character wore later on in season 2. Although she does have some deeper, darker reds and blues in second season. But I don't know. I just feel like this goes better with like season 1 Claudia, I guess. Speaking of Claudia, like right behind me, this is going to be changing over time. I don't know how many different versions of Claudia the illustrator has, but I always have the character that I'm covering right behind me, unless it's on hiatus. All right, so we're going to start with the prompts, and hopefully if the internet connection is not that bad, I'll be able to go a little bit quicker. Here we are. And this time around, I'm going to try to figure out a way to cut this down. So as I'm showing you what the prompt is, I'm going to let you know what I'm reading. We'll kind of do it that way. Hopefully that's more helpful, keeping this kind of short. So yeah, 7 books on Claudia de Pointe-du-Lac's self. Claudia is a writer. She has a journal that she writes in throughout season 1 and season 2. And that's really just a key into who the character is, or else we wouldn't really have any way of getting Claudia's narrative. So I would say read a play or a journal. So in other words, sometimes there's nonfiction journals of historical figures that are published, or there are authors that will write in the form of a journal. There's that book. I haven't read it. I don't think I'm ever ready, can be ready to read it. It's called Push, and I think that was also written in the form of like a journal. Or there is, oh no, that's not really a journal, is it? I was gonna say the Potato Peel Pie Society, but I don't think that really counts. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. So I'll be reading A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. This is a play. I did see this when I was quite young, so I look forward to revisiting this since it's been so long. And I'm going to read you a synopsis in case you hear it and decide that you want to read it along with me. First produced in 1959, A Raisin in the Sun was awarded the New York Drama Critics Circle Award and hailed as a watershed in American drama. Not only as a pioneering work by an African-American playwright, Lorraine Hansberry's play was also a radically new representation of Black life, resolutely authentic, fiercely unsentimental, and unflinching in its vision of what happens to people whose dreams are constantly deferred. In her portrait of an embattled Chicago family, Hansberry anticipated issues that range from generational clashes to the civil rights and women's movement. She also posed essential questions about identity, justice, and moral responsibility at the heart of these great struggles. The result is an American classic. So I'll be reading that for this prompt. And the next prompt is Claudia squandered from telling her in her own journals, and this is all that we really have for her. Louis gets to tell his story. He gets to sit across from a journalist and editorialize the story as much as he wants to. Claudia doesn't really have a voice except for her journals, and even that, Louis and Lestat already read Claudia's journals by the end of season 1, so I don't know how honest she was really being in her journals, like thereafter. She felt like someone was peeking in on them. And so I would just suggest that you read a story within a story. And for me, that is going to be The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. This author is like well known for all their horror. I've only read like one other book by them. And I just enjoyed The Only Good Indians by them so much that I was excited to pick this up. And look at it. It's sprayed edges. It's pretty cool. All right, so the sleeve says, this chilling historical novel is set in the nascent days of the state of Montana, following a Blackfeet Indian named Goodstab as he haunts the fields of the Blackfeet Nation looking for justice. It begins when a diary written in 1912 by a Lutheran pastor is discovered within a wall in 2012. What is unveiled is a slow massacre, a nearly forgotten chain of events that goes back to 217 Blackfeet dead in the snow. Told in the transcribed interviews with Goodstab, who shares the narrative of his peculiar and unnaturally long life over a series of confessional visits. This is an American Indian revenge story captured in the vivid voice of the time by one of the new masters of literary horror, Stephen Graham Jones. So that's definitely my choice for that. And it's a big one. And I'm not big on tomes. So I'm just hoping that this ends up being something that we actually enjoy. Here we go. All right. So Claudia loves movies and theaters. We see that in season 1. She goes out with Louis and Lestat and they watch a movie together and they have a grand time at home discussing whatever they're watching. I think they saw Nosferatu. And in season 2, she's so enthralled by the play, the theater, right? So I'm going to be reading, the book prompt is read a book with movies or theater as a subject, as a focus. So I'm going to be reading James Baldwin's The Devil Finds Work. And so really, this is like a series of essays and James Baldwin's like social commentary critiques on particular movies. Some of them I haven't seen, and so I thought, well, maybe when I read this, I'll try to watch the movies too. I don't know. We'll see. I'm on a tight schedule. But yeah, he says Baldwin challenges the underlying assumptions in such films as In the Heat of the Night, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, The Exorcist. Here are our loves and hates, biases and cruelties, fears and ignorances reflected in the films that have entertained us and shape us, our consciousnesses. So, I'll be reading that word. Claudia is constantly underestimated by those around her. And so I would just say, I want you to focus on a book that is where the protagonist is an underdog. And not just that, but maybe if the protagonist is made a villain. So not just a book with a villain at the center of it. Like, it has to be clear that it's things that have happened in society that have contributed to the person being a villain. Like, for instance, Claudia's made a vampire without her consent, really. And she's also not told about the consequences about her existence as a vampire as a teen. So people are withholding information from her. And then when she lashes out, because they're all monsters, but she decides to basically go on a serial killer rampage. It's like her parents that did this to her, they're just looking at her reaction rather than look at how she got there, basically. And so I think that's really important to kind of discuss and dig into when you pick a book. And so for that, I'll be reading Rent, which is by Chuck Palahniuk. And this author writes some wild stuff. He really pushes the limits. So proceed with caution if you decide to read with me. And if you decide that it's too much, look up the warnings and, don't read with me if pick something else. Buster Rent Casey just may be the most efficient serial killer of our time. A high school rebel, Rent Casey escapes from his small town home for the big city where he becomes the leader of an urban demolition derby called Party Crashing. Rent Casey will die a spectacular highway death, after which his friends gathered the testimonies needed to build an oral history of his short, violent life. And so I'm hoping this pairs well with this prompt. It's been sitting on my shelf, so it's definitely an excuse to finally read it. All right, from the next prompt, Claudia is alienated by those around her. We see that in both seasons. Probably feels a little bit more hyper-focused in the second season when she tries to join the coven. People are shutting their minds off to her and not really letting her connect. So read a book with a character that challenges the status quo, because when Claudia was made, they really broke the mold. So I'm going to be reading Sipping Dom Pyeong by Through a Straw, Reimagining Success as a Disabled Achiever, written entirely using my one good finger. This is by Eddie Ndopu. So it's a memoir, and I think he just talks about the challenges he goes on to face even in the world of academia. So I'll try to read a little bit, not the whole thing. Global humanitarian Eddie Ndopu was born with spinal muscular atrophy, a rare degenerative motor neuron disease affecting his mobility. He was told that he wouldn't live beyond age 5, and yet Ndopu thrived. He grew up loving pop music, lip-syncing the latest hits and watching Bold and the Beautiful for the haute couture, and was the only wheelchair user at his school, where he flourished academically. By his late teens, he had become a sought-after speaker, traveling the world to address audiences about disability justice. Ndopu was ecstatic when he was later accepted on a full scholarship into one of the world's most prestigious schools, Oxford University, but he soon learns that it's not just the medical community he must thwart, as the educational system too. In sipping Dong Pyongyang, I don't know how to say that, through a straw, we follow Nidopu, sporting his oversized, bejeweled sunglasses as he scales the mountain of success, only to find exclusion, discrimination, and neglect waiting for him on the other side. So here's someone that's really like carved out a life for themselves, and how the world doesn't really is not accessible for them, because the world makes it that way. So puts challenges in front of them. And so I thought that would be a great read for this prompt. And also a nice nonfiction book amongst all my other ones, because it's mostly, well, James Baldwin's is nonfiction, so that's a good one. So for next prompt, read a book discussing gender dynamics, because Claudia is fighting for her independence, and we see that constantly with her. We do see this in season 1. She does attempt to leave out of like frustration, and then when she tries to leave again, Lestat basically makes her feel like this caged bird that can't leave, because she's just there to be of service to Louis, unfortunately. And that's a whole other codependent problem. But yeah, she's very, very trapped. And then in the second season, although she does feel lured in by coming across other vampires and feeling like accepted, I think it's also her trying to really accept herself like as an independent entity as well. And she's just trying to like navigate all that. Anyways, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and read Poor Things by Alistair Gray. This was made into a movie. I still haven't seen it yet. I don't want to see it until maybe like way later. I just want to read this book first. And so it's a satire using Frankenstein, but to talk about, I think, the patriarchy and gender dynamics. And so on the back it says, one of Alistair Gray's most brilliant creations, Poor Things, is a postmodern revision of Frankenstein that replaces the traditional monster with Bella Baxter, a beautiful young erotomaniac brought back to life with the brain of an infant. Godwin Baxter's scientific ambitions to create the perfect companion is realized when he finds the drowned body of Bella, but his dream is thwarted by Dr. Archibald McCandless' jealous love for Baxter's creation. The hilarious tale of love and scandal that ensues would be the whole story in the hands of a lesser author, which, in fact, it is. For this account is actually written by Dr. McCandless. For Gray, though, this is only half the story. Satirizing the classic Victorian novel, Poor Things is a hilarious political allegory and a thought-provoking duel between the desire of men and the independence of women from one of Scotland's most accomplished authors. Alistair Gray is the author of over a dozen novels and short story collection, including Lanark, 1982, Janine, and Unlikely Stories, mostly. So I do look forward to reading this. We'll see. I'm worried about the writing being like really dry. Stat and Louis, at some point, they do like shove her to the wall. That seems to be like their go-to move. And it's the same thing that Armand does to her in season 3 when she shows up late to a performance. And she even tells Armand, like, the coven doesn't really want much to do with her. And that just like her not listening to him just kind of like pisses him off as a coven leader. So read a book discussing patriarchal structures. And so I chose The Bass Rock by Evie Wild. This was recommended by Jen Campbell, who's a disabilities activist and author. And so on the back it says, surging out of the sea, the Bass Rock has always borne witness to the lives that pass under its shadow on the Scottish mainland, and across the centuries, the fates of 3 women are inextricably linked to this place and to one another. Sarah, accused of being a witch, is fleeing for her life. Ruth, in the aftermath of the Second World War, is navigating a new marriage and the strange waters of the local community. And 6 decades later, Viv, still mourning the death of her father, is cataloging Ruth's belongings and the now empty house. As each woman's story unfolds, it becomes increasingly clear that their choices are circumscribed in ways big and small by the men who seek to control them. But in sisterhood, there's also the possibilities of survival and a new way of life, intricately crafted and compulsively readable. The Bass Rock burns bright with love and fury, devastating indictment of violence against women, and an empowering portrait of their resilience through the ages. And so I'm pretty sure this is going to be a downer, but I'm going to read it because it might be riveting as well. All right, I don't have recommendations for all of them. Sorry for like sneezing. All right, but I kind of wanted to mention a couple of them that really like some really, I guess you could say, riveting books that stood out to me. So Alienated by Those Around Her, I would say read And Then She Fell by Alicia Elliott. It's a genre bending novel. It's like sci-fi, it's horror. It's written by an indigenous author, and it's about a young Mohawk woman that moves off the reservation into um, a neighborhood, and she's like postpartum. So she's going through postpartum depression. She's married to a white male academic. So she's also dealing with someone else telling her how she should perform her culture or like the accuracy thereof. And also dealing with microaggressions within the neighborhood. There's also like a problematic ancestor, if I could say it that way, in this book that really actually took my breath away that the way that writing was. But I wish this book had more praise. So I would say to fulfill that prompt, that would be a great option. Let me see. There's a book that I love and I'm trying to figure out where to place it. Um, Constantly underestimated, I guess you'd say. Could be Trevor Noah's Born a Crime, although this is a memoir about the author's childhood and into like young adulthood. So much of the focus is his mother. Actually, the both of them growing up in a time of apartheid, and talk about a person that broke the mold. Like every step of the way, his mom was just filled with so much wisdom, and there's definitely some frustrations that Trevor Noah feels towards some of the situations with between him and his mom. And I really loved it. It's a joy. When this first came out, everyone fell in love with his mother just as much as I did reading it, and I definitely think you will too. Um, Another book that's about actually suppressed by violence, fighting for her independence, alienated by those around her, would be I Keep My Exoskeleton to Myself. And this is written by Marissa Crane. Um, and this is considered speculative fiction. Um, I absolutely love this book, but I think I'm going to ruin explaining it. So I'm going to read the inside. In the United States, not so unlike our own, the Department of Balance has adopted a radical new form of law enforcement. Rather than incarceration, wrongdoers are given a second and sometimes third, fourth, fifth shadow as a reminder of their crimes and a warning to those they encounter. Within the department, corruption and prejudice run rampant, giving rise to an underclass of so called shadesters who are disenfranchised, publicly shamed, and deprived of civil rights protections. And then should I read the rest? I'll read a little bit more. Chris is a shadester and a new mother to a baby born with a second shadow of her own. Grieving the loss of her wife and thoroughly unprepared for the reality of raising a child alone, Chris teeters on the edge of collapse, fumbling in a daze of alcohol, shame, and self loathing. Yet as a kid grows, Chris finds her footing, raising a child whose irrepressible spark cannot be damped dampened by the harsh realities of the world. And you know what? It's been a while, but I'm gonna read you like the first paragraph because that's what really blew my socks off. The kid is born with two shadows. You better believe I head straight down to the Department of Balance office to appeal their decision. It isn't right giving an extra shadow to a baby. It's not like she killed you on purpose, Bo. She's a newborn baby, for fuck's sake. She basically a more sophisticated potato, and that's exactly what I tell the receptionist resting his boots on top of his desk. He is long and slender with a droopy face. Where's the father? He says. I'm her other mother, I say, trying to steady my pulse. I always hate this moment of vulnerability, of simultaneously waiting for and anticipating a reaction. And so that's just from the first paragraph. And if I have to do like a 5-star rating or whatever, it's 10 stars. It's a great book. Lastly, as a suggestion, or actually second to last of my physical books that I actually have on me, is I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer. It's written by Michelle McNamara. She passed away in her sleep before she could publish her book. It's a nonfiction crime novel. She had been working on it for years. And so in writing the book, there's just a lot. There's just so much that she has to do that I because she passed away, this book was written in a very specific way. Her husband gathered other like researchers that were working with her to hopefully cobble this together and still have this book released. Her husband is well known because he's Patton Oswalt, a stand-up comedian and actor. And so something that probably a lot of people don't know about her is that she made great effort to connect all the different like police departments that actually usually wouldn't talk to each other because they're in different jurisdictions, so they're just territorial. Maybe this is all these cases have been going on so long, maybe people don't want to admit to like where they messed up, so it's a lot to do. But she was just like a great connector of people, and she just yeah, she really threw herself into this. And so even though we're reading this book that is trying to catch the person that's doing these things, this is much more of a focus on the victims and the impact on them. What are the structures in place and societal norms in place that proliferated this events, I should say. And so she passed away before this person was caught. And I want to say, like, by the time the book came out, not even a full year had went by, and then the killer ended up being caught and put on trial. So that was a really wild time. So even myself, I'm not completely on to nonfiction crime. This is still like worth the read if you're willing to go there. Lastly, for squandered from telling her own narrative, read a story within a story, I would recommend the cult classic House of Leaves. When you look at the book, you'll see that text will be out of place. It's all different colors. And so on surface level, you might think it's a bit gimmicky, but really it's not. It's about the experience and the story that the author is trying to, the experience he's trying to give the reader. So the book, it's like a book within a book. So you're reading about a character, like I think a young guy in his 20s. And in this world, there's whispers about like this documentary going around the college circuit, if I remember. And everybody's saying it is a documentary because some people don't believe it's even real. And he comes across, I don't remember if he comes across like a book or like a transcript of what took place or like a journal, something like that. And so he starts reading it. And so the story that he's reading is about a family that moves to have like a new beginning per se. And in the home, there's a room, and that room starts growing. And it's like not noticeable right away, but then it keeps growing. But when you go outside of the house, the apartment still has the exact same dimensions. So something's going on with the home. And so you have like two different stories like paralleling each other. I haven't read in ages, but I know that the 25th year anniversary just passed by recently, and I really enjoyed it. So that's all for my recommendations, and these are all the prompts. Already listed all this on Storygraph, and I think I released this slideshow separately because it's real short, and I think this felt like it's more accessible. I did try to create a post um, with like three of the slides, which would be like the face, the first photo, and then the prompts, and then the books. But it's coming out kind of blurry, so I'll try to repost it at some point if I can just make the resolution better because it's junk right now. I don't really like that either. So there's a couple of quality issues going on with this. Um, so now that we're done with that, all right, everyone. And speaking of Storygraph, let's go ahead and look up Storygraph, and we'll check out the prompts just so you can see it. I'll make myself smaller here. All right, so there's a section called challenges, and you could search or you could browse. And after you go to browse, you can look for it. It's going to be 7 books on Claudia's bookshelf. And I have the details that are the same from the YouTube description. I plopped it here, and you're going to see all the prompts and whatever. You don't have to read the same book. When you look up your own book and you're reading it, you could actually attach it to a readathon, and it'll take you here, and that's where you add it to which prompt you want it to fulfill. And so this is exactly what I did. I have all the books that I want to read in my to be read pile, and I've attached them. So it's not completed yet till I'm done reading them, but they're all here already, like assigned for me. And so once you complete the prompt, you're going to be able to see your progress here. And I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. It's nice to see the statistics of things for some reason. I like that. Let me see. Did I cover everything? I pretty much covered everything. So now we're going to move on to our YouTuber spotlight. I'm going to go ahead and share the first YouTuber we're going to discuss. And I'm so sorry if I've discussed them before and I just don't remember, because that's definitely a thing that I would do. Some other character is, his name's Chris, and my goodness, he has like the funniest videos. Actually, I think I have talked about his channel before, but they're just so dang funny. I don't have that funny bone the way that he does. But yeah, I just realized I really enjoy like his tags. He's done a vlog recently. He also covers movies, so it's not just a discussion about books. And he does have where is it? They have like I don't know. Oh, maybe it's in the live section probably. Him and another group of YouTubers have band together, and it's Books, Bros, and Banter. And I like listened in, and that was a lot of fun. So it's definitely like a joyful communal space that I really enjoy. And you know what? Who am I looking up next? So the next two are movie television reviewers, and that's Kenny Sparks. I haven't watched this new one. This just came out, or is just about to. Oh yeah, this is out later on today. Anyways, so sometimes they will have reviews, but they'll also do lives, and it'll be usually him paired up with Zack Attack Reviews, and they have like great chats together, which is one over here. Or sometimes he'll just he had one that was chilling and making thumbnails. He was literally just working on something, and we're all just in the chat chatting away. And that's how I became across T. Oh my gosh, I'm doing this again. I'm messing up his name again. Have you seen that with T? Something like that. I'm so sorry I'm butchering your channel name, but we met in the chat over there. And so yeah, so let's look up Zach. That's him, but when did the here he goes. I like his logo. Here we go. All right, so Zach Attack Reviews also does reviews of movies, and again, it does lives and pairs up well with Kenny Sparks. And so they're just a lot of fun. I enjoy them. And so they're doing like a mix of like DC stuff, horror, just like an array of different things that I've really enjoyed listening to. And last but not least, and it's not going to be here. I don't know why I keep feeling like sneezing. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. All right, so you already know clearly from this readathon that I am Interview the Vampire Chronicles obsessed. So let's see. Come on. Make this bigger. All right, there's a podcast called Blood, Books, and Babbles, and there are 3 hosts. And I've been listening to them since like the very beginning. The first episode, it's still like a pretty recent podcast. And even their like most recent episode was just so insightful. They brought up some points that did not even cross my mind. Because I feel like even though I love the books, I have more half-baked ideas more than anything. And so if you're just interested in listening to a podcast that discusses the Vampire Chronicles, so it's not just the adaptation. It's definitely a mix between the books and the show, which I really enjoy because that's what I like doing myself. So yeah, they're just an absolute joy all around. And I think we made it. Hopefully this isn't as long and less glitchy, hopefully more coherent than anything else. So thank you for hanging in with me. And yes, again, if you saw this and you've already seen it, and if you happen to stick around, thank you. So I hope you'll join with me in this readathon. If it's your first time, welcome. I'm glad to have you. If you're continuing to join me, thank you. I just appreciate the support. And I definitely look forward to your thoughts about every time you read a book in context to this character, is there anything maybe like enlightening to the material that we've seen on screen, if that makes any sense. All right, everyone. Thank you. Life is chaos. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and read more books. Bye.